the United States came very close to dropping some bombs, some missiles on Iran. It would have happened, I guess, early this morning, but Trump called it off at the last minute, so kudos to him. I will give him credit for that. That's a good thing. The United States has no business dropping bombs on any country, especially Iran, a country that poses no threat to the United States whatsoever. And so the provocation from the kind of Defense Department, the neocons who are pushing for war, they say that Iran shot down a US drone that was flying in international waters, and then so this missile strike against Iran was going to be in retaliation for that. Iran claims that this drone was flying over US airspace and that they actually tried to contact this drone multiple times, saying that it basically needed to get out of their airspace or it was going to get shot down, which they did. I feel that the Iranian side of the story is much more credible. They have repeatedly said they do not want a war with the United States, and none of their actions have really shown that they do. You know, they were following the 2015 nuclear deal. Even after the Trump administration pulled out of that, they were still completely in compliance with that, according to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. I believe that's the correct acronym for that organization. So yes, it's definitely a very scary time in the world, in the United States. The gears of war are drumming up for another unnecessary war that would have huge dramatic consequences kind of the world over, because that particular area of the world, the Strait of Hormuz, is where most of the kind of oil, or a good chunk of the oil in the world is transported through. That would be disruptive. It would bring different actors, you know, into the fight, in support of Iran. So it would escalate things in Iraq, Afghanistan. It would cause turmoil, you know, all throughout the area, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, you know, all these different countries. And then there's also kind of rumblings that the Trump administration, or at least the neocons within it, are trying to make the ludicrous connection that Iran is somehow, you know, working with Al-Qaeda. So, and they're wanting to do that because if they're able to sell up that bullshit point, that bullshit connection that does not exist, then they would be able to use the AUMF, the authorization of military force, which I believe was some powers that were given to the executive, to the president, to the executive branch, after the 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center, that would allow him to use these kind of war powers without having to get congressional approval. But that's just, Michael Brooks did a pretty good breakdown of how just kind of stupid this point is. Iran is actively fighting Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Syria, and they have definitely no connection to them whatsoever. But during the 2001 invasion of Afghanistan by the United States, some of the Al-Qaeda and Taliban fighters did flee to Iran, and they kind of just kind of let them hang out there, but they didn't provide them any support or anything like that, and they even kind of kept them contained in this one area and did not allow them to have any coordination with other members of Al-Qaeda. So just another attempt to try to make a case for why the United States should be going to war with Iran. So it's basically just the neocons trying to grasp at straws to try to sell the bullshit case of why we need to get in another unilateral regime change, offensive war against the country that has no poses no threat whatsoever to the security or national security or the interest of the United States. But it's something that the neocons, people like John Bolton, have been advocating for a number of years, if not decades. So kudos to Trump for calling off that strike. I hope there is some type of diplomatic solution that is able to happen between the United States and Iran. It's clear that Iran doesn't want a war, and I honestly don't really think Trump does either. I think it's more the people within his administration, the Mike Pompeos, the John Boltons of the world, who are really pushing for this. And Trump, at least in this instance, showed some restraint and called off that missile strike against Iran that was supposed to take place. I believe it was Friday, June 21st, sometime in the morning time against Iran. So it'd be very interesting to kind of see what further kind of develops around this very serious and troubling issue between the United States and Iran, as tensions are super high right now between the two countries. And I don't blame Iran at all for this. It's all provocations from the US government, pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal, the economic sanctions, the economic warfare that the United States has levied against the countries, making it so it's even hard to, import medicine into the countries. That's not going to harm the people in power. That's only going to punish the civilians, with the hopes that, they make it hard enough on the population, then they would support some type of regime change that would be more favorable to the corporate interests of the United States or the military-industrial complex. So yes, very fascinating, but also very sad what the people within the United States government are trying to go to war with another sovereign nation just because they would benefit the oil and gas companies and the corporate moneyed interest. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Peace, much love.